Okay, I'd like to call the Joint Special School Building Committee to order. We're at Nashua High School North Lecture Hall. It's Thursday, September 28th, 2023, and it's 7 p.m. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman Dowd.
Present.
Alderwoman Wilshire.
Here.
Alderwoman Klee.
Here.
Alderman Timmons.
Here.
Alderman Sullivan.
Here.
Ms. Raymond. Ms. Lampier.
Here.
Ms. Bishop. Just walked in. Ms. Giglio.
Here.
And Mr. Claffey.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right.
Off the hook.
You
Save.
took the roll call. Now the clerk can read the prayer, and would Alderman Sullivan lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Almighty God, we have the high honor and the serious duty to manage the educational affairs of our beloved city. Fill us, O God, with a spirit of unity and understanding, which enables us to face our multiple problems with a serene mind, with justice and charity for all, so that any and all decisions made by us will always be for the betterment and greater happiness of all of our fellow citizens. So help us, God. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, if there are no objections, I'll waive the reading of the minutes of the August 24th, 2023 meeting, place them on file. Marked by Chairman. Thank you, everyone, for coming out this evening. All the projects are going along really well, and as you'll hear when we have our architect and construction manager speak. Remarks by school administration. Anything, Mr. Smith?
Just a note that the dedication for Franklin Street School is scheduled for Friday, October 27th at 1:30 p.m. We don't know where in the school yet. We're hoping for good weather so we can be on the front steps. There's not really a big room for everybody to congregate, but we'll figure it out. We have a month to do so.
27th. 1:30. Okay. Items for discussion, approval of invoices. The first item is the architect's report from Harriman. Jamie?
Good evening, everyone. Jamie Willett with Harriman. I have a little presentation today. I did hand out, I think you received an email as well as a handout for the presentation, but up on the screen. Today I'm going to cover some project updates for the McCarthy Middle School, which includes looking at the furniture package design that we've been talking about for a few months, several months. I'll touch on Franklin Street and also Birch Hill and Main Dunstable. So CA updates for McCarthy Middle School. We continue our on-site construction administration tasks as well as in office, coordinating with Harvey. That effort is high, but the amount of questions and submittals and stuff has dwindled quite drastically. But that's good news. That means we've gotten through that hurdle of deciding and figuring things out that are in the field. So good news. Several of our engineers, plumbing, electrical, mechanical, and civil have been to the site recently. I know the mechanical, electrical, plumbing were there to do some above ceiling inspections so that they could start closing up ceilings in the area B wing. So that was good news. Good news for them to get out there and check things. It was a good investigation. For design updates, as I mentioned, the furniture bidding package has been issued. It went out just this week on Monday. I know that 4 vendors have confirmed that they have received and are reviewing it for potential bids. Kind of 4 of the usual players that we would expect to go after furniture package is specifically of this size. And we have had one additional company that we're not familiar with also reach out, but we'll see where that leads to. So the bids are due on October 12th for the furniture package. So we'll wait to see if any questions come in and final coordination items. The install dates for the furniture listed in the specifications in the bid package are for area B, C, and D, the classroom wings. Will be installed between May 1st and June 15th, 2024. And then area A, the larger section there for the kind of the public side and the unified arts areas, will be installed between June 1st and July 1st. What's nice about those dates is July 1st is, well in advance of the summer. These dates have been coordinated with Harvey, so they're vetted so we know that it'll work with their construction schedule. And so, at that point, it'll be far enough along to start really planning for that summer and have, appropriate amount of planning ahead of time. So I'm really, really happy to hear that, or in coordination with Harvey. So I wanted to share. So I know I've been talking that we did site investigations at Elm Street, and I did want to share a little bit of what we saw there. I think, as I had noted in the previous meetings, that we saw a lot of furniture very dated. I had mentioned I saw desks there from the 1930s. That's not a joke. I did really legitimately was teachers' desks from 1930s. They were beautiful. But you can see in these photos here. So in the upper left, this one here, there's some broken chairs. These are actually kind of newer chairs, but the quality of them is just not the plastics that are long-term plastic. So like the ones we specify in our projects are for the mass of this project here is going to be high quality polymer plastics meant to withstand test of time. So you can see the one-arm bandit desks and chair combos there, functional for its time and still often used, but not the direction that we received from the school district. There'll be desks and chairs. You can see, different colors of one-arm bandits. There's blue ones here. There's beige ones, and then chairs are mismatching. The teachers' desks are varied and not as functional. They're very stationary. And then again, those one-arm bandits there. So that's just a sampling of typical classroom. I mean, there was tables, there was a variety of furniture throughout the building. None of that is intended to be used at this time. The package that we've submitted for bidding, we've done estimates on it. It right now falls well within the budget for FF&E. So we'll explore that again in October when that comes through. So then typical, I should step back a second and say that we've had this coordination effort with furniture has been done with several, at least 4 or 5 separate meetings in person with the school district. It include Dr. Andrade, the new principal of Elm Street, Assistant Superintendent Posca, Special Education Director Alexander. Several teachers were involved. Mr. Smith and several members of his team were there at different meetings. So it was a good group of people and good meetings. We kind of focused on certain things as those meetings progressed. So I'd say there was 5 or 6. I meant to write that down, how many exactly, but and then that doesn't include the emails that we were corresponding. I know there was a lot of discussions on color selections and finalization of furniture selection. So I feel this has been a well-vetted package, and I'm actually fairly excited about this furniture package. It's forward-thinking, as in it's flexible. It works toward the new mode of teaching, where teachers and students are dynamic. They're not necessarily always sitting at a desk and teaching from their desk. The student tables and chairs or the spaces, the collaboration spaces we have are meant to be flexible depending on how the teachers teach or the group of teachers want to teach. So this package is very, I would say, is that next step into the future. So I feel great about that. So as we look at some of that, you can see a typical classroom here, the plan up on the left. It is desks and chairs, but they have some flexibility. You can see that they have it's almost like a wheelchair mode where they're locking casters on one side and then you lift it up and move it so they could group together. Maybe there's a group of 6 students are going to work together and allows them to move forward. I will note that some of the colors on here are just generic samplings from the websites that we can get. So beware of that as you're looking at them. There are colors. The red chairs, as an example, are accurate to the highlighted. There's trying to pointer here, but like there's a little group table in the corner of the room, and then the teachers' chairs would be red, and then the classroom chairs themselves for the students would be like it's called flannel. It's that darker color you can kind of see on screen. The teacher's desk is that one right under the image, the rendering, this one here. It's a mobile desk, a mobile desk unit, has a filing cabinet, but it also has a podium that's not attached. So they can bring this out with them and maybe they're teaching back here at this little group table here. Allows for flexibility, allows for different dynamic teaching, not necessarily a stationary desk. And then we do have those little group tables as well. So they might have a smaller group where they can teach. The collaboration, the student commons spaces, I should call them. Those are fun group settings. So there's 3 different kind of group settings with varied furniture, allowing for different types of seating. Maybe it's more of a intimate setting, or maybe there's just a couple students at a table. So you can see on the plan there the different varied types of furniture that's up on there in different areas that we've populated in there. And each wing will have its own identity of colors as the paint colors already represent in those spaces. So. Existing cafeteria. You can see at the time I was there, they were all set up off the side, but there's varied tables, colors, and they're just those long straight ones. And you'll see in the new one, we've given varied dining options so that if students that maybe don't want to sit with a group of 12 or 15 students have an option to sit in some smaller intimate settings, or the students that do want to sit in these longer dining settings are able to as well. So if you look at this next image here, this is the proposed cafeteria. So you can see there's some long tables, there's some round tables, there's some bar height tables, or bar height, the dining table, they're a little bit taller with stools. A few of those around the back and the outside to try to give that varied setting, varied amount of students at each table. And then there's in that right image on just underneath with the blue chairs stacking just represents that there's some carts to provide more seats, more chairs, so that in the setting of a performance, there'll be additional chairs that might be lined up in a row to face toward the stage. So. The existing library, although the Elm Street Library was a newer library, and I think it was built in the 90s, and I think the furniture probably came along with that. It was still, it's pretty stationary. Like all the tables are square with 4 chairs, and so that doesn't create some varied learning environments. In the new setting, up on, you can see that there's different environments in different areas. And actually then there's tables, there's square tables, there's different types of tables, different chairs. There's also some seating in the middle right here. I know it's hard to see where I'm pointing, I'm moving around a little bit. They will have some bookcases behind them and a little bit more soft seating. Like at Pennachuck, I think there's also some of those egg chairs we'll look at in a moment. So try to create some different spots and different environments for the students to utilize to do whatever activity they're learning. Maybe they're reading a book, or maybe they're working together on projects. So here's an example or a sampling of some of those different furnitures that I was talking about in the middle. And then some other key furniture. There's the like special ed classroom. Some of them have these little rocking, they're sensory rocking seats. Different types of tables, like a U table, so you can work collaboratively together with a few students or a couple students. Of course, there's desks and chairs still in there. A teacher's station. And then the family and consumer science has some tables, these little tables down here. We've bought appliances in this package, so refrigerators, ranges, stoves, dishwashers, all those are included in there. And then the wood workshop has some benches, like you see on the right with the vices on them. And then the art room will have a new kiln. I think there's one existing kiln that was in good condition from Elm Street that's being used. This particular project has 2 kilns, so there'll be one new one and one relocated one. Okay, I'll pause for a second to see if there's any questions on the furniture.
Any questions on the furniture thus far? Yes.
What's the life expectancy of the furniture? How long do you think it lasts?
Well, some of this furniture existing at Elm Street is, decades old, and there's no reason to expect this furniture would be any less than that. It's high quality furniture. It is, I would say, one of the better furnitures, if not, arguably the best, but one of the better furnitures for school environments that you can produce, that you can acquire.
Okay. Follow-up?
Yes.
The reason for
Timmons?
that question is because when I first joined the Board of Education, the furniture, the chairs were just a mess and they were always replacing them.
Mhm.
So we wouldn't have that problem this time.
What I can't say is that you're not going to have problems with broken chairs. Depends on the
sure,
the use
yeah.
of them, right?
Yeah.
But I can tell you that this is high quality education for furniture.
When we open the 2 high schools. Acting poorly to high school students.
That's what I mean. Exactly.
I apologize. I should also note that the furniture that we're using here is the same types of furniture. It's the same company. There might be a little bit different style and colors that we used at Pennachuck and Fairgrounds. I do know that from what I've spoken to the facilities about this furniture, they're very, very pleased with the facilities department, is very pleased with it. We've used it on many schools in the past too. So it's a high quality furniture. Other questions? All right. Oh.
Yes. Neil?
Sure. It's hard to tell, do the cafeteria and the learning commons have windows?
To the outdoors, yes. So the cafeteria, I can go back. I can missed it. Oh, that's the learning commons. So you can see in this image here on the top right, all the way in the back behind that red block, that's all exterior glass. And then you would also have views, depending where you're sitting, to maybe some of the corridor lengths. And then the Learning Commons has, on the bottom of this image, there is some windows that you, I wish I could point better with this thing. There's a little room on the bottom left. That, where the door is showing going into that bottom room from the Learning Commons, is all like a glass movable partition. And so you'll get light from our exterior views. Yeah, that's not the Learning Commons. You'll get views from the windows down below. And then to the right, where there's those little chairs, you're facing the corridor. There's windows across from there that can shine through, borrowing the light from the corridors. And then straight up, oh, and actually, this has a very large skylight. I forgot about that. A very nice one down the center of that one. So there's a bunch of natural light coming into this space. So, other questions?
No, there is a lot of natural light all around the school, either direct or indirect. So it's using outside light very effectively. Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you. Franklin Street School. I didn't have a very large update. I know that Harvey will be touching on that tonight. But I will note that we have been there kind of doing our final punching. There was a final walkthrough recently, kind of going over the school, one kind of like a final walkthrough. There are some punch list items to address, but I know they've got their certificate of occupancy, and I believe that includes the kitchen. I speaking with Harvey about that. So, like I said, grand opening's coming up, so good to hear. And then Birch Hill and Maine Dunstable, we just continue our construction administration efforts, biweekly meetings over there, and keeping that one moving, coordinating with Harvey. I did want to note that there will be a PCO tonight. I'll kind of set it up for Harvey to address, but there's a couple PCOs, one for each school, and those are for some new storefronts. You may recall when we were going through the early design and looking at the value of the budget that there were several it was an overrun, so we had to do a little bit of value savings to the project to keep it on par. And so we removed the 1990s storefronts from the scope because they were in decent shape. They were better than the 1960s storefronts that were rusting. Those are actually made of steel instead of aluminum, which the 90s ones are aluminum. So that was taken out of the project. In a recent PCO, you folks had approved for adding some security glazing into all of the windows. And what transpired after that point was that the subcontractor and Harvey were looking at those windows, and in order to replace the glass panels, there was a lot more work for them to put them in. They were going to do that, but they said, geez, at this point, we're going to tear these apart. There'd be a pretty good cost savings to replace these older storefronts because the parts, you can't get the parts anymore. So there's potential damage and whatnot as they're trying to replace these. I think they can do it. That's not the question. I'll let Harvey speak to that, but there was a good value offered to just replace them in kind because you're basically the labor wasn't that much more. So setting up for Harvey to speak about it, the PCO includes replacing all the 1990s storefronts, including the sills, which are right now made of either nothing or brick. And that's a raw lock brick, which provides joints where water can get into and they deteriorate over time. We'll replace those with a precast. Actually matches the rest of the building that was done, is being done as part of the project already. So now the whole building would actually match because there will be differences if you didn't do those. So I'll let Harvey speak to that when it's their time. But I did want to kind of set the stage so that they can kind of play off that. So that's it for Birch Hill, Maine Dunstable, like I said.
The questions on Franklin or Maine Dunstable, Birch Hill? Yes, Alderman Timmons.
I just have a comment. I go to Birch Hill like every other day because I pick up my grandson who does the cross country. And I was very impressed with the trailers. They look like they stationary. They got all the rocks around it and look very, very good. I just want to say that you guys did a really great job of putting those trailers in.
The portable classrooms,
Portable classrooms.
Yeah.
They're really nice. I like the way that you have all the bricks lined up around it. It looks like it's permanent. Good job.
Just for the public, they are not permanent, and
It looks like they're permanent.
and they will be disappearing at the end of the
Yes,
project.
They did a good job. It looked like part of the school, but
Yeah.
good
I think
job.
they need to be safe and meet code even for a temporary setting. So I think Harvey did a great job setting those up.
Yep, it did.
Any other questions for Harriman? Amy?
Thank you.
Okay, Harvey Construction now. Ken?
Thank you. Ken Lemarier, Harvey Construction. So I'm gonna, along with Kathy and Brendan here, gonna run through some project updates. It seems like the list is getting longer and longer, but I promise after this month, this list will shrink as we close out some of these projects. And then we'll run through, I do have one final change order for Pennachuck that will close out the project. And then the two PCOs for Maine Dunstable and Birch Hill. So I'll run through the construction update right now.
Just, Ken, just so you know, I left the book in the car, but I'll sign it before you leave.
Okay. Okay, so believe it or not, we are still doing work over at Fairgrounds Middle School. We did have some savings under the McCarthy Middle School, and um, we worked with with Mr. Smith and his team, and we're able to fit in the track resurfacing over at Fairgrounds. So if anyone's been over there, the that track was resurfaced this summer and restriped, so that work has been completed.
Just so you know, this is one of the equity items. We tried to do as much equity between the 3 middle schools as possible. And since the new school is getting a whole new track and with the surface on it, and since some parents pointed out at Pennachuck that when kids fell on the asphalt, they get hurt. Both Pennachuck and Fairgrounds have been redone the tracks with a coating on it. Approved by this committee earlier.
So that should wrap things up for over at Fairgrounds. It was a great project there. Moving over to Pennachuck. So again, with the equity item for the schools, this track regrading and resurfacing was a little more involved. So we did have to regrade and pave the existing track to kind of help with the pitching of the water and drainage and whatnot. So then that was resurfaced and restriped. So that work is now complete as well. All the mechanical commissioning within the school has been completed, working with plant operations team and and our contractor. We're able to flush out all the new systems that were kind of tied into the existing systems and making sure that everything's functioning properly as we turned it over the building. You can see in the upper right hand corner, we did some landscape refreshing. So that was an example of a courtyard, and that was turned over within 1 year. You can see that was before and after photo taken in the same day. So that's in the south courtyard right there. So we kind of, before school started, we wanted to have our landscaper go through and kind of freshen everything up before the kids and teachers arrived. So we were able to, again, fit that under the budget and kind of work our way from the track out towards Manchester Street. There was some, again, with project savings, we're able to cover some existing building problems that have been kind of plaguing the school. So the lower right hand picture here, this is kind of the hallway that's kind of adjacent to the gym. We was found that there was some faulty flashing that either failed or was done incorrectly at I guess when the project was previously done. So we were able to get in there over the last week or so, weather pending, and repair the flashing and brickwork. We did wash down. We finished up this work today, wash down, and we'll be pulling out of the site tomorrow. So that work has been completed as well.
Just so everyone knows, we found this out as we were doing the project. This is work that was done incorrectly when the school was originally built. And since we had Harvey and Masons available right now, we did this repair using contract dollars, but I've already submitted with Sean Smith this cost to risk management in the city. And I'm pretty sure that risk is going to cover this and put the money back into the account.
And similarly tied into the masonry. So we had all these brand new additions that we did where the brick looked nice and new, and up against kind of the existing buildings, there was some areas that probably should be cleaned. So we were able to, while the mason was there, have them go around the building and touch up and clean those areas as well. So I believe they're going to be heading there either tomorrow or Monday to finish up the remaining areas. So we should be wrapping things up over at Pennachuck in the next couple of days. Any questions on Fairgrounds or Pennachuck?
Nope. Okay.
Okay. Moving over to the McCarthy Middle School. So we'll start on the outside and then we'll move indoors. So the earthwork and site package is moving along quite well. We're gonna try to keep moving forward until the weather doesn't allow us to. So whatever we can get done in the fall is gonna help us in the spring. So miscellaneous utilities are ongoing. So we are on permanent power, and right now most of the utilities are complete. We're working with a third-party contractor to run the fiber and fire department cabling to the building so we can get that up and running this fall.
That's the cabling that had to come from Nashua High south to this school, which is not a short distance.
Fine tuning the baseball and softball fields right now, working our way out like from outward to, towards the building. Plantings at the fire lane and athletic fields are taking place right now. We're also, I believe, working with Alderman Dowd and Mr. Smith to get some trees that kind of match the Medallion and Cherrywood neighborhood. So it's kind of an easier transition from the school zone to the residential area.
Yeah, that whole development down there in Cherrywood and Medallion and those other streets all has pear trees. In the spring, they all have white flowers. It's really pretty. So we wanted to add some of those on Medallion on our side of the streets, so it keeps it prettier than pine trees.
We're also basically trying to get any of the exterior sidewalks completed this fall. So that includes the rest of the sidewalk down D'Antonio and then the rest of the sidewalk kind of going towards Medallion Court.
Right. The 9th of October, we'll be doing that sidewalk work and the work into the Tibbetts property. And the Tibbetts have been very cooperative with us, and that will all be completed in a few days.
We'll be while that work is being completed, we'll be tying into the existing sidewalk on Buck Meadow to kind of have a smoother transition from the existing to what's new. Area B and D retaining walls are going to be going in over the next month or so. And then we're trying to fit the track in this fall, but we kind of made the executive decision that cooler temperatures now, it's probably best to just push it off and do it in the spring. So I think that's a wise decision.
Unless snow winter on top of it.
Building envelope wise, pretty much complete with the AVB. We've got a couple of minor spots left in area A. The windows are complete. Curtain wall is almost complete, and the sunshades have begun being installed around the building. And masonry veneer moved into building D right now, which is they have building D and the rest of building A. We should be wrapping up the masonry veneer early November, and the siding is ongoing as well. You can see the tactile panels and the metal panels are going to be starting up in November as well. So we're kind of working our way around the building. Being indoors, so Jamie showed it's kind of nice to see the furniture layout and how the space is going to function. So here's an example of a student commons area. So Jamie had his the benches here, so you can kind of see the collaborate. It's nice to see how the space is going to be used. So buildings B, C, and D are all pretty much in the same state right now. The photo that I was just highlighting is the lower level of building C. So we've already started the Harvey punch list process. So we go through and make our list of deficient items that need to be addressed, walls that need to be touched up, etc. And then Jamie and his team will go through and add to that list, and then we'll work our way out, final clean, close the door, and then ready for furniture in the spring. So that's kind of the process, working our way up in every building. So a lot of these photos in buildings B, C, and D are going to look the same over the next couple of months here. Building A is the main entrance, the learning commons, cafeteria, gym, unified arts area. This is the area that's probably going to be taking shape the most over the next couple of months. So the photo in the upper left-hand corner here is a view from the actual stage platform itself, looking into the cafeteria. Here's the monumental stair. These are the windows that Jamie was referencing for the natural light going up into the learning commons up in here. And then the kitchen is right here. So here's the middle coiling shutter of if you recall, this group approved having a local artist provide artwork for all these coiling shutters. So we actually just got these motorized today. So these are now fully operational.
And we keep them up so they don't get scratched or dinged while construction's going on.
Correct. So most of the mechanical rough-in has been completed in this area. The kitchen rough-in was actually completed this week, so we're going to start drywalling in there. We've had the kitchen supplier and installer on site, just kind of doing their own punch list and making sure that everything is working properly. The mechanical room, which is probably Mr. Smith's favorite part of the building, has been completed, and we're just we do have water running through the building, so we're just kind of working through and fine tuning things as we move into the heating season. Right now, the big thing is to get boiler 3 up and running, so we can get heat into the building and keep the building a constant temperature as the temps begin to fall. Overall, everything's moving very well at McCarthy right now. Everything's on schedule. Should fall right in line with the furniture fit up and allow the city to get in there and get the school ready and not have be under the gun next summer.
Any questions on the McCarthy School? Okay.
All right, so moving over to Birch Hill and Maine Dunstable, I'll turn it over to, I want to introduce Brendan Arell. He's been working behind the scenes doing a lot of my hard work. And so he's going to kind of take on a more prominent role on Maine Dunstable and Birch Hill. So I just want to turn it over to Brendan. He'll give
He
us
was behind the scenes. Now he's coming out forward.
now he's on the record.
But he does a heck of a lot of work on our programs.
Yep. Been working behind the scenes for a while now. So jumping into Birch Hill and Maine Dunstable. So it was a busy summer. Very big push just to establish the swing spaces so that we could undertake the first few phases of work. So the first big push was getting the portable classrooms set up, pulling those from Elm Street, setting up all of the foundations, the ramps, and everything that Gloria touched upon, and getting those to a comfortable state so the students and the teachers could occupy those. At that same time, we were also working very hard in the gymnasium, establishing some temporary classrooms so that the students and teachers could occupy those zones and we could take over their first group of rooms. So as Ken's showing on the screen there, we got some pictures of the finishes. That is the Maine Dunstable temporary classrooms. So it really worked out well. It's a pretty comfortable space. The temp certificate of occupancies were received for both of those toward the end of August. So they are now being utilized. I'll let Matt touch on this afterward, but he's got a good plan in action coming up here very shortly to put in the permanent rooftop unit that'll serve and condition that space. So it should be a very comfortable space throughout the next couple of years. And as you can see in the top left hand, Elm Street, we went over there, and after pulling the portables and bringing those to the two schools, we were able to remove the existing foundations, some telephone poles, and various utilities. Work closely with Matt's team to get that whole area cleaned up, and then we brought a contractor in there to regrade it and actually seed it. So I was down there earlier this week, and it's actually looking fairly nice down there.
It's starting to look like it did when I went to high school there a couple of years ago. Any questions on?
So moving into the other areas. So also during the summer, we were working very hard inside the cafeteria, and right off the side of that, there's a teacher's lounge and then a series of bathrooms that are going in. So a lot of mechanical rough-in on Matt's side, and then a big push on our end to get those 3 storefronts. So as Ken had touched upon in his previous meeting, we were pushing very hard to get that cafeteria open prior to the start of school. We did have those storefronts come in about a week late, so that was an original contingency plan that we had discussed with the principals. So the students actually ate within their classrooms for the first week or so, and then we were able to turn that over the week of 9/11. So the cafeteria space is now turned over. The teacher's lounge and the adjacent restrooms, those have some minor finishes, and we're just lining up our final plumbing inspections, and those will be turned over very early next week.
Those on the bottom right hand, that's the storefronts we were talking about.
And we will return into that space for a brief couple of days over the Christmas break. At those storefronts there, we'll work with Matt's team to get some heating elements installed to provide a nice, comfortable environment. There is adequate heat in that space now, but that'll offer some additional heat at those windows to keep everything comfortable. We also had our contractor there earlier this week measuring for some shades that'll cover those windows and provide a nice, safe, and secure environment for the students. And as Ken has in his image in the top left-hand corner there, that's actually a nice look at the finishes that'll take place inside the teacher's lounge. So those cabinets are in place, and as I stated, that'll be turned over very early.
Questions about Birchill, Maine Dunstable? Yes, Alderman Clee?
It's not so much a question as a thank you. I had asked Alderman out here, I was like, does that go out to the outside, those windows that you pointed to? And he said no. And when I could see the cars in the parking lot, I kind of got a little anxiety. But to know that there'll be coverings over that and the children on the other side will be protected and not be able to be watched or anything like that, it made me feel much better. So thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Right along?
Moving right along. So we also have right now, we're really focused on the first construction zone. So now that things have slowed down in the cafeteria and the teacher's lounge and everything, we've actually sort of pulled off into one area of the school, and that is our phase 2 renovation. So that's the first bulk of the classrooms, as Ken outlines there. So over at Birch Hill, it's 4th grade and kindergarten, and then over at Maine Dunstable, it's 3rd grade and kindergarten. So a lot of nothing flashy or beautiful to look at yet. That top or bottom left-hand corner, that's an image of the mechanical room and some of the sound paneling that goes on those walls prior to the installation of the mechanical equipment. And other than that, really what's going on right now is a lot of rough framing in those areas and MEP rough-in. And we're tracking right on schedule for completion in February of 2024 to turn that space over. And then, as Jamie had touched upon, we'll be transitioning into doing all the storefronts and the precast sills over the coming weeks.
I know that we understand all the acronyms, but just for the viewing audience and anybody here that might not know, MEP,
So mechanical,
electrical plumbing. Yeah. Alderman Timmons?
Oh, thank you. I have one question. I'm sure this is a stupid question, maybe not. Those trailers are locked, right?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to know.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Any other questions?
Matt, do you want to give a
Oh,
quick?
Alderman Timmons,
quick
another
update on your-
question?
I want to clarify the trailers I'm referring to, okay? Not the temporary ones, the ones that's in the parking lot. Is a lot of trailers that's on, those are locked, right?
Yes, the Connex
Okay,
boxes,
that's-
those are
okay.
locked and secured, yes.
Okay.
Matt, you want to touch base on that?
Thank you, Matt Smith with EEI. As Brendan stated, coming up a big push, exciting push actually, is to get the temporary fans that we had put on the gyms for the temp classrooms off and get the permanent rooftop units on and running. So we have a super exciting Indigenous People Weekend coming up, if you will. So starting that Friday night after school lets out, the cranes will be showing up and we'll be pulling the old fans off, getting the new units on. Saturday and Sunday, we'll be continuing the piping up through the roof into those new units, along with electrical installation and the controls for it. And then come Monday, we'll be doing the startup from the manufacturer and getting into the balancing so that we're pumping the proper amount of air in there. This is also good for the comfort of them. Having the temporary fans on the roof was good for air quality and getting fresh air to them, but falling a little bit short, obviously. And now that we're getting into that swing season and temperatures are starting to drop, this should help make that space even more comfortable for those teachers with getting the heating going. So that's a big exciting one for us to get that out of our hair and get the temporary fans out of there. moving into that cafeteria and kitchen area, like Brendan said, we're pretty much wrapping up. The only major issue we have lingering are the heat in front of the windows, which will be going in over Christmas. But just to reiterate, there is plenty of heat in that space. What goes in front of there is just to kind of, if there's any draft that does come through, it washes those windows. So it's a nice supplemental thing to have, but definitely not necessary. So the students and faculty should be plenty comfortable in that space, even without them, and going in. Not a lot of fancy pictures, like Brendan said. There's a lot of metal in the ceilings and a lot of wires running this way and that. We're pushing hard to get all the rough-in inspection so that these guys can start closing it up and make it look pretty, so we can present you with some nice follow-up pictures. We're getting ready and working with Harvey's team to get the mechanical equipment in once these mechanical rooms are done, and start really driving this phase 2 home. So things are going well.
Some point, we'll probably arrange for this committee to have a tour of one or both of the schools, although they're pretty much the same. So if you see one, you see the other. So you can get an idea of where we're at construction-wise. But there's 3 or 4 phases over the next couple of years. So it's Franklin Street.
Evening, everybody. Kathy with Harvey Construction. Sorry I missed last month. Our last final slide for Franklin Street. Woohoo!
Project is complete.
We just put some representative pictures of, how nice the building looks now, whether it's the classrooms or the corridors, the new kitchen space up there, the front of the building. It's everything from the new windows I put in this summer to that ramp we put in last summer in the front. Just playground work with the fencing and the school department doing that work. So it's really been a team effort at Franklin Street from a whole bunch of people to perform the upgrades at the school. So it was nice to walk last week, as was mentioned, to kind of review punch list items and see what else that we have. A couple of door adjustments and a few things that we're still working on. We just painted the lines on the basketball court last week, for example. Maybe it was earlier this week. And so we're just finishing up, not quite done yet, but finishing up a few items and chasing it down. So it's really great to see all the little kids running around and having it be occupied and see it all come together. So as was mentioned, we've got that rededication event is now scheduled for October 27th. We did receive obviously the temp CO when school started, and then shortly thereafter, the final certificate of occupancy, which included the kitchen space with the health inspections and all that's required for that. So glad to have everything wrapping up and dedication event. And then next month or the month after, we'll be presenting a cost reconciliation, PCO, and a final bill, but I'm not ready yet. So that'll be enough. It might be next month, but it may be the one after. So that will be how we wrap it up for Franklin Street. And Matt, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Not much to add. I think you pretty much wrapped it up. It is that building has come a long way. It was a difficult project, but a fun one to be a part of and see the transformation. So appreciate being a part of it.
Just I want to thank Harvey and EEI. If anybody remembers what the building looked like when we started, it's an amazing transformation and project, and for a very reasonable amount of money. To see the school, we can see it when we have the dedication, but it's amazing. And also, just before school opened, DPW was able to repave Winter Street and Locust Street, and all the lines are permanent now. And there's just one crosswalk. I don't think they've put it in yet across from the upper part of Winter Street across Locust. They're supposed to be putting that in at some point, but they're a little busy on Main Street at the moment. Yes, Alderman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had the honor of going in there. I think it was last week, just before the rail crossing, just to let them know what was going to be happening and so on, and how it could possibly affect them. And you're right. It was kind of nice to see the little ones running around on the first floor, um, and for someone who's not familiar with the area inside, it was like lots of locked doors. You go to this point, locked door. You go to the next point, it was locked door. I felt very secure, and the I think it was the vice principal. She walked me out, and she said, "We're getting a little lost here, a little bit too." So it's still a learning curve with them, but it does look really good. And there were a number of children that had their little lunches kind of piled up on one of the shelves outside of the rooms, and so everything was just right at the right height. And I did appreciate that. I thought that was good. And I just, if I may, Mr. Chairman, just to make a comment about the paving of Locust Street. The upper portion of Locust Street was not paved, which is actually the worst portion of Locust Street. But for those that are listening or may be listening, that is scheduled to be paved in a much larger paving project. The road is very bumpy, potholes and so on, but it's one of those that it's kind of the end of its life. But that won't happen for probably a year or two, maybe. So just so that when someone hears you that Locust Street got paved, they know that it wasn't the entirety of Locust Street. It's probably about 30 feet or so
I
at
think
the
it
top
was
there.
from the upper part of Winter Street down to Franklin Street.
I think it was, I want to say Terrace.
Maybe it went further.
Yeah, it went up further a little bit. It's a very small portion of it, but it would have really, because it's a reclamation. So that's why they didn't do it. They wanted to do what they could for those in that area. So, but thank you. I appreciate it, and I'm really glad the work
Yeah, if
is
anybody
done.
gets a chance, just to drive by to see the outside, the all new windows that were put in, landscaping and the basketball court that we were able to squeeze in. And it really turned out nice. And as again, I said, it was done for very reasonable money as far as I'm concerned with all the work that was done. And great. Are there any questions on Franklin Street? Okay. Couple other things, Ken?
Yes.
It's like last call.
Wake up.
Who's serving?
Okay, so Kathy mentioned before, as part of the project closeout process, we do the final bill and then we reconcile any unused costs, or hopefully if things go well, you give back money. You don't want to ask for more money at the end of the project. So I do have a final change order that'll be incorporated into the final bill for Pennachuck Middle School, and this is to reconcile the unused funds for that particular GMP. So if approved, this PCCO number 15 is returning project savings of $37.23.
So a couple of things there. First of all, that's only Harvey's portion, not the whole project. And two, that money that's coming back from risk will end up in this as well. So, but a lot of work was done, but there is a lot more money left in the Pennachuck project, but this is just the Harvey portion. Right, so we need a motion to approve PCCO number 15 for the Pennachuck School to have Harvey return $37.23. Like to make that motion.
I'll make that motion.
Alderman Wilshire made the motion. Any discussion?
Lots of a happy meal.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We do have monies that we will be allocating at some point at Pennachuck. As I said, we have money left over, other than that $37, and the $16,000 we'll get back from the repair of that brickwork to entertain the ventilation, the dehumidification of Pennachuck. So that'll be coming later. Okay. Next.
You have two. Do you want to do the? Sure. Brendan's gonna take us through the two PCOs that Jamie mentioned earlier regarding the storefronts for Main Dunstable and Birch Hill. So we'll
Be-
do
yeah,
Main
bef-
Dunstable first.
Before he mentions that, these came in, had to be installed. We couldn't wait for this meeting because the project is very tight. So I approved both of these, so we're going to be approving after he reads and tells you what they're about for my sign off on these two expenditures for the storefronts for the get the cafeteria up and running.
So as Brendan, Harvey Construction, um, as Jamie touched upon earlier, these two PCOs, the first one for Main Dunstable, PCO number 3, new storefronts and precast sills in lieu of the retrofit. So as Jamie had touched upon, we have a series of exterior storefronts, and there's sort of a mixed bag between what we're doing with those. One of them is a full replacement of the existing storefront, and then another one directly adjacent to that one may have been a retrofit. So as Jamie had touched upon, those ones were 1990s units, which were made of aluminum, so they were in decent enough shape to keep and salvage. And in discussions with the subcontractor and lining up schedule activities, we identified that after bringing in PCO 1 for the additional glazing, as Jamie had stated, we were now ripping apart the entire assembly, and there was only a few pieces remaining, and the discussion opened as to why do we replace it in its entirety. We would replace the sill as well, which, as Jamie touched upon, the existing sills are mostly brick, or some of them do not have sloped brick sills, and that can lead to moisture issues and a quicker degradation. So bringing in the new precast and the full assembly, it'll give a clean look and it'll look uniform throughout with everything else that we were doing. So the value for this PCO is $47,034.32.
It's for doing each school one at a time. So which one are we doing?
This one is Main Dunstable.
Okay, Main Dunstable. So, and I want to thank Brendan for negotiating with the vendor to get us a really good price on being able to do this. And from a long-term maintenance position, it's going to be even more savings. So the amount again was?
$47,034.32.
Okay, so I'll need a motion to approve the Main Dunstable School CO
CO 3.
3 in the amount of $47,034.32.
So moved.
So moved by Ms. Gilio. Any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So moved.
Normally I have the book in front of me to read these, but I left it in my car. Go ahead.
We'll forgive you.
So moving into Birch Hill, so same scope, actually the same value. So this would be PCO number 3 in the value of $47,034.32 for Birch Hill Elementary.
Okay, so for Birch Hill, we'll need a motion to approve PCO number 3 for the new storefronts and precast sills in lieu of retrofit for the amount of $47,034.32. By Alderman Timmons. Any discussion? Being none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay.
All for Harvey.
John?
Yeah, I have a proposed contract for your consideration. I believe it's in your package. This is for a commissioning agent for Main Dunstable and Birch Hill Elementary Schools. To refresh you, commissioning agents look primarily, at least this one does, look at HVAC systems. So they look at the design, they provide suggestions on changes to it. They then observe it as it's being installed. And once it's installed, they go back with a fine tooth comb and make sure everything, absolutely everything is operating as designed. So there's more than just looking at an air handler. There's lots of points that they're measuring, the control systems, and et cetera. So Turner Building Science did the same work for us is doing the same work for us for the middle school project. They did Fairgrounds Middle School. They literally just finished Pennachuck a couple weeks ago. So even though the school was done some time ago, they were still working on making sure everything was operating properly. And then they're currently working on McCarthy Middle School as well. So the value of their proposal is for $108,400 as a not to exceed price. And I request approval of that.
So we'll need a motion to approve for the Maine Dunstable Birch Hill Turner Building Science for Building Commission in the amount of $108,400.
Yes.
Make that motion. Alderman Timmons. Questions? People that save us from having any issues later, unlike we've had older schools. So, all right. So, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Right, invoices.
Okay, invoices for tonight. E&E Security, 2 schools, Birch Hill and Maine Dunstable. Invoices totaling $8,965.50. For Energy Efficient, who's done the mechanic MEP work, which you all now know is mechanical, electrical, plumbing. Also security and fire alarm and probably some other stuff I can't remember. So they had 2 invoices, one for each of the 2 elementary schools, totaling $2,084,638.39. Eversource had 1 invoice. This was to procure the transformer for Penachuk, $27,278.40. John Turner Consulting, they do testing agent work at Birch Hill and Penachuk, $4,246.86. For Harriman, Jamie's getting all this money. For work at McCarthy, Franklin, Birch Hill, Maine Dunstable, $60,562.19. For Harvey, 5 invoices for work at Penachuk, McCarthy, Birch Hill, Maine D, and Franklin Street, totaling $2,806,924.41. Hayner Swanson is our surveying company. They're monitoring all the environmental conditions around McCarthy Middle School. 1 invoice, $878.22. M.E. O'Brien and Sons, 1 invoice, $15,993. On your package, you'll see actual costs higher than that. The school district escrowed money from last year's budget, the tune of $25,000, and then this pays the remainder. This is for the playground surface at Franklin Street. It's that rubberized surface. I walked on it last week. It was like walking on, I don't know how you describe it. It's very cushy. If you fall down, your kids won't get hurt.
Like walking on Skechers.
Yes. I thought it was like walking on marshmallows. So I gave you that price already. 3 invoices from Page Street. They provide the ground storage units or Connex boxes we've talked about earlier. $295. Bichette Brothers, we have 3 invoices for them. They did additional work for us at Penachuk. They involved putting in bollards in a few extra locations, and I can't remember what else they did for us there. Remember, Ken?
Curbing and signage
Okay.
replacement.
Yes. So those totaled $9,745. 1 invoice from H.L. Turner Group. Again, they are well, this particular invoice is for work on the security vestibule project, which that is totally designed, and we are just starting to have conversations with Harvey. They've already provided some pricing estimates. That invoice for the architect is for $3,328.50. The same company provided an invoice for commissioning at McCarthy Middle School, $3,889.62. Finally, Vanessa and Associates, they're the transportation consultant. They reworked the intersection lighting, so you notice that's improved. Outside Penachuk, 2 invoices, $4,315.29. by school, those invoices total for Franklin Street, $307,255.98. For the middle school project, $1,887,775.38. And for Birch Hill, Main Dunstable, $2,832,700, $2,832,700.52. And finally, for the security vestibule project, $3,328.50. Those all total $5,031,060.38.
Okay, I just want to go back to the Pichette Brothers. That damage was caused by the trailer truck, right? Isn't that also gone into risk?
It is.
So
It has.
that money may be coming back, should be coming back to the project. I think she's already agreed to do that, so that's the 9,000, but right now we had to pay it. So I'd like a motion to approve the invoices in the following amounts. Franklin Street invoices, $307,255.98. Middle school project invoices, $1,887,775.38. Birch Hill, Main Dunstable invoices, $2,832,700.52. And the security vestibule project, $3,328.50 for a total invoice amount of $5,031,060.38. So moved by Alderman Wilshire. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, comments by committee members? Any committee members that wish to? Alderman Clee?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank everybody that has been working on these projects. It's been a long time coming in and seeing them, some cases finish, in some cases just continuing, but we can actually see a lot of the work, and you guys have all done great work and kept us informed. So thank you very much for that. I also want to go a little bit off subject. I said this at the Board of Aldermen meeting the other day that there is it was in the patch anyways, that the two of our Nashua high schools made it to the top 25 high schools in the city. South was 12, and I think,
City.
I'm sorry, in the state, I apologize, in the state. We only have two in the city, right? So getting ahead of myself here. And North was 24 out of the 25. And for the Nashua School District, per the niche 2024, they give grades A through and so on. The Nashua School District made within the top 25. And one of the things when I first started running for Board of Aldermen was I had people who would call me and tell me how our public schools were failing, and they were rated at E's and F's and so on. And I went and I looked, and I couldn't see that type of thing. But the nice thing about it is this niche report rates the Nashua School District as a B. Granted, we have room for improvement to get to that A and that A plus, but we're not this horrible thing. And we are a large city. We made it above Concord, and Manchester didn't even make the top 25. So not that, we want to compare ourselves to other people, but I think we're all doing a good job. I think it's a dedication of teachers, paras, staff, the Board of Ed, all the work that they've done, the superintendent, so on. I think everybody working together, and I really want our city to know we have a lot to be proud of. So thank you to everybody that's made that happen.
Any other comments? Alderman, yes, I'm sorry.
Hey.
Ms. Gilio?
My next job. No, I was just noticing that the next meeting is October 26th, and Jen and I have been invited to participate in the League of Women Voters Forum at the library that night at that time. So I know I'm not
that
going to
is
be able to
true.
be here. I don't
I
think
had
you're
that on
gonna-
the
You'll be
calendar.
there at
Yeah.
the League of Women Voters, right? So the two of us for sure can't
So
make your
we'll
meeting.
look to move that.
Oh, that would be great. That would be great. Thank you.
Any other?
Just, so you know, that's, that form is, I think I have 7:30, 8:30, I don't know why. Is that true?
Starts at 6:30, I think.
7:30, 8:30?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it starts at 6:30. It took at least an hour to an hour and a half from the introductions and everything 4 years ago when they did it. So we wouldn't be out in time to get here.
I'll make
you.
sure you go.
Oh, I will be there, for
I'll
sure.
be there too. So I'm already
Yay.
calling out for that day.
Are we calling out?
Yeah.
She's calling in sick.
Yeah. We'll do something about that meeting. All right. Any other? I just want to thank the superintendent who has been more involved in these building projects than past superintendents and keeping his thumb on the pulse of the projects and especially in the furniture area, which is fine because that's the long-term thing that you have to live with, furniture. So furniture and colors. So thank you, Dr. Andre. All right, we don't need a non-public. By your motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion is to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned at 8:11.